Okay, so in this video, we're going to review sets of numbers. As you can see, we have another cube root. This one is negative 64 eighths. So again, I'm thinking to myself, what multiplied by what is going to give me 64 eighths. Now, you might have those memorized by now, and if not, you can always make your number line or look at your number line notes like we used in class. 8 is the product of 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. Because this is negative, I know that I'm looking at a negative value each time. That's going to give me a negative value at the end because these two will pair up to give me a positive. When I multiply it by one more negative, I end up with a negative product. Okay, so looking at 64, 64 is a product of multiplying 4 times 4 times 4. And so when I'm simplifying this, I notice that I'm looking at the fraction negative 4 halves. Now I can simplify negative 4 halves by dividing 4 divided by 2 to get negative 2. And so I'm looking at this value of negative 2. Now you may have noticed inside this cube root, and actually this is probably the most efficient way, is that if I look at negative 64 divided by 8, I could actually simplify it inside the radical. So 64 divided by 8 is 8. And so negative 64 divided by 8 is negative 8. And then I could have just simplified that value as negative 2. So there are other ways of simplifying the cube root of negative 64 eighths. As long as we get negative 2 at the end, we've done it correctly. So now let's actually organize this into what kind of number it is. Well, it is real. All of the numbers that we're dealing with in 8th grade are real. So you'll notice that all of our answer choices also have real. So that wasn't super helpful. But you'll notice that the next one here says rational and irrational. So I know from class that if a number is rational, once I go from real, when I'm sorting, it is either rational or irrational. It cannot be both. And so I'm going to go ahead and put rational over here and irrational over here. Irrational values are numbers that never terminate, they never end, and they never repeat in a pattern. Well, negative 2 is negative 2, and that's it. I could put negative 2.0, or I could put negative 2.0000, but that's a pattern in itself. So I know that it's always going to be negative 2, no matter how I started that. And so that is actually a rational number. And so when I'm dealing with a rational number, I can go ahead and cross out all of these because they all say irrational number. So I know it's rational. Now I have to decide, is it an integer? Well, remember in class we talked about the word integer, and in Spanish the word integer is número entero. Integer. Sorry, can't spell. Good thing I'm a math teacher. So when I'm talking about número entero, that means an entire number. It has no fractional part. And so an integer is a number that has no fractional part. Well, negative 2 is the whole entire negative 2. It's not negative 2 and 1/10. It's not negative 2.5. It's not negative 2.705. It is just negative 2. And so it is an entire number. So it is, in fact, an integer. Now I go and look at my whole numbers. Whole numbers are all of my positive integers. And since negative 2 is not positive, then it is not whole. And so it cannot be that answer. Now, I also say it can't be this answer because it was an integer. And I'm left with a real rational integer. I hope that this video helps. Good luck on your next problems.